All right. Are we live now? All right, we're live, everybody, on Facebook and on Adorama TV. Welcome to Photo Brigade Photo and Music Night here at CBS Studios. Welcome one, welcome all. As I said before, we're going to have two great photo presentations, followed by an amazing set by our photo industry band. So please make sure to, if you can, tweet us out, Facebook the link. It's going to be, make sure to invite your friends to watch along. And do follow us on Facebook and hit the subscribe button for all of you that are watching online. I'm going to throw this up to, and again, thank you to PhotoShelter and Tenba for the pizza and beer that we have provided. So thank you to them again. And all right, I'm going to throw it to you, Peter.
Hey. Here you go. Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm here with Jesse Frohman, who shot this amazing Kurt Cobain work, and he has a book that he's done on that book. We're going to start with some of the work that he was shooting before when the job came in, right? Some hip hop and things like that. So as soon as we start rolling, Jesse's gonna do.
Well, around this time, I actually was shooting a lot of rap. That's how I started. I don't know how I got into rap. I think it was through a friend of mine, Amanda Shear, who was doing a lot of underground parties, and I was just hanging out. And
What year is this?
Oh, 90 or something or other.
Well,
No, it was really, I was just assisting, and I was going out to clubs a lot. And I went to clubs like Payday, and there was a roving party, and it was the most exciting time of rap, late 80s, even before the 90s. For me, rap was really exciting. And so I started shooting, and it was easy. It must have been what it was like to shoot Zeppelin and a lot of the rock bands before they were really famous in the late 60s.
Right.
And because I have friends that did that, and they would just hang out with the bands, and you can see many of the great pictures of these photographers that just went around with these bands and wonder how they got such great access, which you can't get anymore.
No.
Which is a real turnoff. If you ask the same photographers, a lot of the famous rock photographers, if they would shoot again now, they would say never.
They would never. There's too many publicists and all that stuff.
Publicists and security and all that, all those barriers to entry. So rap for me was like that. They would come over my house and hang out. It was so hysterical. I'd have Flavor Flav, screaming in my house and scaring everybody that came over.
And these were a lot of New York-centric guys.
Oh, they're all from New York.
Yeah.
I mean, all the guys that I was shooting.
And here's the
at
Flavor
time.
Flav picture.
Yeah, that was actually on my roof. I shot a lot on the roof. And Humpty Hump would come over, and he was hanging out. He would hold my cat, and I have pictures. I had Run DMC on my roof, drinking 40s, and it was so easy. They would just come over and hang out. And now it would never happen that way.
No.
I mean, if you were good friends with them, I suppose, but at the time it was really unique, and I didn't take it for granted, but I never knew it would get as bad as it is now. But I was shooting a lot of rap, but I was shooting, blues. I was shooting a lot of music. I was shooting a lot of rock. And I'm sure a lot of you know how you can easily get pigeonholed, and people thought I didn't do anything else.
Right.
So then I kind of, and rap is tough, they wouldn't show up on time.
Or show up at all.
I would get, gourmet fried chicken, meals for, these groups. And they would leave for 3 hours and come back with buckets of KFC. And I was like, but I have gourmet fried chicken for you guys. So it'd be things like that, and I just get tired of it. LL Cool J showed up 10 hours late, and I said, where were you? And he said, well, I had to get my friend's Pathfinder. I said, we could have rented a Pathfinder. That was the car at the time, the homeboy car. And he showed up with 4 duffel bags of brand new sneakers, and I just cropped them because I was so angry with him for standing up all day, so I just cropped the picture, never shot the shoes. But, I did a lot of bands like Soundgarden, Nirvana, and I did so many. I shot a lot for Rolling Stone, Spin, a lot of other kind of magazines. I shot a lot for Vanity Fair around that time. Nick Cave came over the house. He was amazing. He was just so photogenic. But I also shot a lot of other people. I was shooting designers like Marc Jacobs. That you could see his hair so long as at the early part of his career. So I wasn't interested in shooting. That's Chessie Rayner, a socialite. She was so beautiful. I was interested in shooting portraits. I studied with pen, and so my interest was shooting great portraits.
Right. No matter what the subject was.
No, look at this one. It's just so. Whereas a lot of other music guys, they shot music. That's what they special. If you shot celebrities, that's what they shot. But to me, I didn't care if it was an architect. I shot a lot of architects. I didn't care if it was a director like Spike Lee or Woody Allen. In fact, the more diverse subjects I can get, the more excited I was. But of course, I did a lot of celebrities too. You can't survive without doing that.
No, because that's what pays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was a movie poster for, what was that film? I forget. Girl Interrupted, I believe. Yeah. Joan Jett was amazing. She was so photogenic and so sweet and so tiny. She was always larger than life for me, but she was literally like, 5'1". I don't know if she is 5'1", but that's when she walked in, she seemed really small. Mark Morris was crazy. He invited me to a party after this, and he introduced me to the whole party, and then he mooned me in the middle of the party. And it didn't make any sense to me, but Mark Morris, and he's an amazing person. He's an amazing philanthropist, so he's really a wonderful guy, but he's crazy. And everyone has a different energy, so it's really interesting to see all the different. I love doing portraits. It's challenging. It's tough sometimes. Some people.
Because sometimes you have an hour to take a picture. Sometimes you have a minute to take a picture.
15 minutes.
Yeah, a minute to take a picture.
Well, Kurt was like that. It was like it's half an hour shoot, but I had to do a lot. Some people are just so insecure. Sometimes you wish you had a gun, not to shoot them, but to just wake them up.
Right.
Well, maybe shoot them, but
Now, do you find that that at the beginning of the shoot and the end of the shoot, the best pictures come? When someone's really uncomfortable at the beginning, and when somebody's
That's
really...
actually very interesting. I might go on and on and on, but then when I look at the film, I go, the best pictures was in the first roll.
Yeah, because
so
they're
it's fresh.
uncomfortable, but at the end, they're like really comfortable.
No, I don't
so
think
it's like
because
the middle
of that.
is like...
I don't think it's because of that. I think you lose an energy. You're forcing it. You're trying to do too much. Sometimes they get tired. My pictures are very controlled in the sense that if it's in a studio and it's a white background, a gray background, there's not a lot of options. We don't change a lot of clothes. We might, if it's a celebrity, have a few outfit changes.
Right.
But a lot of the shoots I didn't really take a lot of different setups. So they don't know what to do in front of a gray background or a white background. So they kind of lose energy. And that's why after like 7 rolls of film, I'm done.
You're done.
I rarely go on past 30 minutes, unless it's something like Nirvana, where we were going to shoot on the street and shoot at Roseland. We had all these options set
Well, let's
up.
talk, since these pictures are going now, so why don't we talk a little bit about this? How did this whole shoot come about? Who hired you? And
Well, it was the London Sunday Observer that hired me. And at the time, they were a very edgy Sunday magazine. And I guess because I had been doing a lot of work for other magazines, they just called me up and asked me if I would do this cover story. And I said, of course I would. I would love to, because at the time Nirvana was at the peak of their career. They were just about to come out with In Utero, and they were really an exciting band. Everyone knows at the time they were considered the #1 band.
right.
And I negotiated a 5-hour shoot. And with no problem. That was the agreement. And I figured this is fantastic. So I could shoot them in the studio. I could shoot them on location. I could shoot them at Roseland.
Right.
And they wanted, when you do cover shoots, they need enough material for inside and the cover. And especially if it's a big story. So I had that all set up. And but things don't go as planned usually. And I showed
Especially
up
with music, right?
with any celebrity.
Anybody.
But, more music because it's rock and roll.
Yeah.
And I showed up at the hotel, and a manager met me, and he said, listen, I think we have to shoot in the hotel. And I said, in the hotel? That's not the plan. The hotel's a boring hotel. And it was in New York at the Omni Hotel, which I think is around 5th and 55th. I don't even know if it's still there. But so we looked around, and I said, where? And he said, well, I've reserved a conference room in the basement. And you all know what a conference room in the basement of a hotel looks like. It's it's a giant oval table with 3 feet on either side for chairs.
Yeah, it's not optimal, to say the least.
So I had a whole production van out front, and I even had a seamless. I don't know what made me bring a seamless, but I figured just throw it in. So fortunately, I could set up a seamless. We literally dismantled the table. We literally unscrewed it apart and put it out in the hallway. And I set up a studio. And we waited for Kurt. No Kurt. We waited longer. No Kurt. Dave and Chris left. They went to get breakfast. They came back. No Kurt. They left again. So at about 3 in the afternoon, Kurt shows up. It was an 11 a.m. shoot. And I think you could see in one of the pictures, there's a little Polaroid. There's a bucket in the picture by his feet. And he walks in, and he says, do you have a bucket? And I said, sure. What do you need a bucket for? He says, because I think I'm going to puke. And that was the beginning of the shoot. Him,
oh, wow.
Stoned out of his mind, ready to puke. And I had to do a cover story. So I just figured, do what you can do, throw him up against the wall and start. And the funny thing is, he was great because he was so honest and open. And you can, some of the pictures you can see, he's spitting out water, and he thinks he's like flying a kite or something. He's dancing. He's doing all kinds of things. Yet he was able to communicate with me.
Right.
So it was really.
He's used to being high.
Yeah, he was. I didn't realize he had actually OD'd the night before.
Oh, wow.
And that's why he didn't. I don't know to what extent that was. I never really quite figured out that whole story, but he survived that, and he was able to get high again the next day and show up. But it turned out to be a great shoot. But they had, because it came so late, instead of a 5-hour shoot, I now had a 30-minute shoot.
Right.
Which means I had like 15 minutes with Kurt, 15 minutes with the band, and then they invited me to Roseland with them.
You really turned on an amazing amount of imagery in that 15 to 30 minutes.
It's not that I shot a ton. It's just that, and I've never done this with another shoot, and not only because other shoots are not the nature of the icon that he is, but even so, none of my other shoots would have lent themselves to this kind of a treatment of a book. Originally, what I want to do with the book is print every single image and make it really repetitive, almost like a flip book, kind of idea.
How many images are there total of the whole shoot?
I actually never counted, but not that many, but a lot more than what's in the book.
Right.
It's just I felt that it should be a combination in the end. I didn't want to bore people with it. I think it would have been fine as a real art book to do every single picture full bleed, one after the other, But because I wanted to have a wider audience, I figured, and also I'm fascinated with contact sheets personally. When I see Gary Winogrand's contact sheets or other people and which ones they mark and all that, I love that. So I want to include that. So I thought it would.
And here it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been better to include some of the work in progress, some of the Polaroids, a little bit of everything. I didn't want to get too much into nostalgia and have the postcard I sent my mom saying I'm shooting Nirvana, But I just definitely want to share some of the works that was going into the shoot and editing process.
Right. Now, I know. Since I've known you for a long time, I've heard you. We've talked about the glasses, the white glasses that Kurt is wearing, which primarily was kind of like you wanted him to take them off, right? But to me, like these are why these pictures are like the photographs of Kurt Cobain because of those pictures. There's just because of the eyewear. It's just so distinctive.
At the time when I shot this, I was really disappointed because I thought when you do covers of magazines, I always want to see the eyes, so I figured I got to get the glasses off. And so I asked him a couple of times, but because he was so stoned, he wasn't going to take them off. I saw his eyes; they were like 10 shades of purple. So I left them on, and I let him get away with that because I wanted to get good pictures. I just wanted to keep on shooting, and I was afraid that if I really made an issue and interrupted it, the shoot might have been over in 2 seconds. So I let him stay on, and I was concerned. I told the magazine, I said, look, I don't have eye contact. It's great. I'm thrilled with the pictures, but just letting you know. And in fact, when he died, I got calls from just about every magazine wanting the pictures for the cover, except they all expected I had some
other pictures
with the eyeglasses, and I didn't. So I didn't get one single cover after he died. But as time went on, to me, I don't miss his eyes at all. Even though he's a very handsome guy, and many other photographers have great pictures of him without the glasses on. To me, it's like a bug. You know, they just are him.
Right.
And he had white ones, he had black ones, he had red ones over the years. So people know him for those glasses.
Yeah.
And he made them who he is. And that's why these pictures kind of have become iconic, because there's such a style, icon element to this, besides that he was a great musician.
Yeah, and died early, and all the things that make you an icon. You know, the glasses just add to that mystique.
Yeah, he hated that he was an icon of fashion. He really hated that, even though he was really into his style.
Right.
I mean, he had great clothes. You know, he had tons of clothes. They're all like secondhand mostly, but he didn't want to be he hated the idea when it was a story. I think Stephen Meisel did, and
Marc
Vogue.
Jacobs did flannels.
He did
And,
grunge. Oh, he hated when Marc Jacobs did. I think they dropped him, whatever that means. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know how you drop Marc Jacobs, but he was doing grunge at the time, and they hated that.
Yeah.
Him and
Well,
Courtney.
it became a whole scene. Everything. I had a goatee and long hair and flannel.
You still dress up like that, don't
I
you?
saw a little bit.
You put the goatee on.
A little goatee. Yeah.
So anyway, I did this book, and what was strange, it kind of took a life on its own. I really didn't expect it. I did the book for myself, and then at his, it's an anniversary, and all of a sudden, I can't tell you how these pictures sell as exhibition prints compared to my other work. I can't tell you how many times it's been reprinted in magazines compared to my other work. I mean, I'm very proud of a lot of these other portraits. I'm very proud of a portrait of James Brown, but compared to Kurt, and this happened with a lot of other photographers that have done these kinds of things. You had asked Bob Gruen, and he says, that John Lennon, I Love New York T-shirt picture on the roof of Lennon's building, he said, that's it. He says, I have done a lot of great pictures, and I sell them, but that's the image I'll go to my grave with, and I can't get away from it. And that's fine, and I'm very happy with that. But that is what happened when you Google my name. That's all it comes. It's like the only picture I ever shot in my life. So it is kind of interesting, the goods and bads of that kind of identification.
I was in Vegas a month or so ago, and I texted you a picture of some guy who had a jacket with one of the photos on the back of the jacket.
I get that all the time. I have my army out there, my nieces and my sisters and friends all over the world, looking for illegal licensing and stuff like that. I don't even ask them. They just do it. They say, hey, this one, you have to sue these people. I'm like, no, it's licensed. It's like, usually it's licensed.
Well, Bob, like that picture of John, the New York City T-shirt John Lennon is everywhere, and he doesn't get a dime from it.
He does get a lot of money from it, but he has the same problem I have. There's a lot of bootleg, and he's the first one to tell me, say, just give it up. Just don't even bother. The money you'll spend, and this was several years ago when I really wasn't very smart about licensing and was ready to sue the pants up of anybody. But I quickly learned that you spend more money on lawyers, and it's not worth it.
Right.
So I've given up on that. But I actually do have a partner in crime now to do that work for me, because I have a deal with the estate. So I use their lawyers, which is the smartest move I ever made. So I don't have to do that anymore.
So what are the things that you've licensed it to? T-shirts, and
There's
I've seen
some
of
label-
Urban
there's
Outfitter T-shirts.
Yeah, there's Urban Outfitters, all kinds of things. We've done
Here's that Polaroid you were talking about with the bucket.
Yeah, there's the bucket. And we did snowboards and surfboards and T-shirts and jackets, and God, there's so many things that I'm not even a part of. I just, they just send me money.
Isn't that good? That's the best way to
yeah.
get paid, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's Alfred Wertheimer, who did the Elvis pictures from Memphis to New York. Anybody know who he is? He was our first one, pretty much when Elvis was just getting going at like 21 or 20 years old, to photograph Elvis extensively on this trip from Memphis to New York. And he got on the train with them and went to his family's home and did a lot of these great pictures. And to the day he died, and they would send him all the products, which I don't even want, but they send him like coffee mugs and watches and everything they put his pictures on. So he literally, and he shot a lot of other things and a lot of other people, but he this is how he made his living
Right.
at the end of his life.
It's kind of like a musician who has that one great song that everybody wants. Like Bruce Springsteen always plays "Born to Run" at a concert because that's what people really want to hear.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that that's how it is. As great as you can be, as Bruce Springsteen is, there's always that one hit, and that's the same. It's just the way it is, and that's fine. I'm totally fine with that because if it brings people to see my other work or maybe some new work that I want to do, and it gives me some kind of credibility for entry. That's all good.
What doors has this work possibly opened up for you to shoot newer work? Have you had someone call you from someplace and say, "I love that picture of Kurt. I want to work with you. Here's something to do"?
That always happens, but it sometimes happens more indirectly. They just like my work. They don't say, "Well, can you do a picture like Kurt?" If I want to shoot a band, for example, that definitely helps. I mean, I could show them a lot of other pictures I've done, but you mentioned the picture. I said Google. You can see. That's enough. That's even better than the website half the time.
Right.
Which shows a lot of versatility. So, but it's not that much of a deal to me in that sense. And not people know the pictures before they know me. That's for sure. A lot of people say, "Oh, that picture, I know that picture," but they never heard of me.
Yeah.
So, which is again also fine. But so once they do that, it does, relax people into knowing that they're going to get something. Well, they think they're going to get that. The iconic picture of a lifetime. So it is a bit of a challenge because not everyone is photogenic like this.
Yeah, it's hard to create that iconic photograph. I mean, in my head, I only really
It's the
think
perfect
of
storm.
I don't think of any other Kurt Cobain image, and then you think of that one Jim Morrison image. You think of that Johnny Cash image, that that one. But that's a stage.
Well,
thing.
I really do think there's a lot of luck. It's just like what everybody says all the time. It's an opportunity that you're ready for. And sure, it's luck. I mean, first I had to be asked to do the job, and then I had to, have the circumstances force me into getting a great picture in a short amount of time. And it was the way he is, the way we put him together. They were his clothes. He brought a whole stack of them, and the way he put them together. But it just was sort of lady luck, I really do believe. But I was ready. I was doing what I thought was good work at the time.
And this is the work again that's up here.
And I knew what I was doing in the studio. If I wasn't comfortable in the studio, it might have been crap. I don't know.
How did you, maybe you answered this already, but how did you feel about the pictures at the time? Did you feel like you got great photos, or you feel like you maybe dropped the ball a little bit?
No, I was really disappointed and frustrated that I didn't get more time with him, which I was promised. And so when you do production and you're expecting 5 hours, and all of a sudden you're getting half an hour, you kind of freak, because now I had a crew waiting for me in Central Park. I had some other guys on the street. I had Roseland, so I was planning to move very quickly, and I had to scratch everything. So you walk away from the shoot thinking like, I'm screwed. I don't have what I thought I'd have for the magazine. Plus, I already told the magazine the kind of ideas I was doing. So they were expecting something too. So right after the shoot, I was really disappointed. When I saw the pictures, I knew I had some really great photographs. But again, I didn't have enough of them for what I thought I was going to give to the magazine.
How did the conversation go with the people at the magazine? Are you apologetic at the beginning, or do you say no, these are great, and you just kind of... is that a dumb question? I'm sorry. Okay. I don't know.
Not totally.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly, but I do remember I expressed how frustrated I was, and you should call them, and we might have to set up another shoot, and this is terrible, but I know I got something good. But I think I called them before I even saw the film. And so once I saw the film, I knew, I told them, I said, we have great pictures. It is what it is, but they're great. So I was fine with that. But you're always frustrated when things don't go according to plan.
Well, I mean, being a creative, I think you're just always frustrating because you always think you could have done it just a little bit better. If I just did this a little bit better.
No, I never thought I could have done better. I didn't have an
You didn't have the
opportunity.
chance.
Yeah, I didn't
to
have a
do it,
chance. So if I had a chance, I wasted time doing something. I'm glad it worked out the way it is. You know, I just stepped into it because had I done what I wanted to do, I wouldn't have had these iconic pictures. I don't even know if I would have gotten to the studio. If I started out in the park and I said I want to go to the studio and then they cut it, I would have had these pictures. So
Right.
I never look back on that.
Awesome. And I think this is a good place to wrap it up.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this, Jesse. Really appreciate it. We're going to switch it over to Bob.
Yep. Thank you. Come on up.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Bob Carey is a friend of mine for a few years, and he almost broke the stairs. And
Thanks.
he shoots these really great photos of himself in a pink tutu for a really great cause. And what I will do is I will just, you know what? We're going to switch sides. Here, do this. Put this here.
But isn't the camera set for that?
Chewy will have to fix it.
Chewy, you'll have to fix this, right?
Am I driving?
Yeah, you're going to just hit next. The next photo will be the first one on your slideshow. Okay?
Are we good? Sorry for everybody watching this live.
Okay.
I'll do the introduction again. I met Bob a bunch of years ago. He runs around town, the world actually, photographing himself in a pink tutu. And he does it for a great cause, and he has a great story to tell about it. So I'm gonna pitch it to Bob, and I'm just gonna run in, and I'll ask questions when I find it appropriate. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Well, only when I find it appropriate, though. Okay.
Okay, great. So thanks all for coming, and thanks Photo Brigade. And so 25 years ago, I started photographing myself as a form of self-therapy after my mom died of breast cancer. And that whole project lasted about 10 years, and it turned into this journey that, you know, I'm an advertising commercial photographer, but once I discovered this outlet, I couldn't stop doing it. So that project lasted for about 10 years. That went on from 1993 to 2003. I'm originally from Phoenix, and my wife, we had a business there, and I lived there for 42 years. And then at the age of 42, we decided to move to Greenpoint, Brooklyn, which
Brooklyn.
kind of, to a lot of people in my family, thought it was a stupid idea. But anyway, so we moved to Brooklyn, and I continued to photograph myself, but this time I had a tutu left over from a project that I did, and it was an image. It was one of the last images I did of this series, and it was in the studio. And I was asked by a Ballet Arizona to give my interpretation of what ballet meant to me, and it really didn't seem to mean too much to me. So I had a tutu made and put it on. And so on the trip out to New York, we stopped in Santa Fe, and I really hadn't really shot a lot of color, and I decided to put the tutu on in Santa Fe, and this was like out-of-date VPS film, and I was just really ready to go on the trip, and I just did it. Didn't really know what it meant.
He's like almost angry that he's got the tutu on.
But it was
right?
like, you know, it was one of those things where I, you know, wanted to get on the road. And so I put this on and did it, and got to New York, and it was like so different than visiting when now you know you live there. And it felt like I went to the moon without oxygen. You know, it takes 4 hours to go to Home Depot, you know, and it's so much different. So over the first 8 months, I was just getting used to being in New York. And then at the end of December, my wife Linda was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of breast cancer. And during these times that are tough, this is when I started doing my work. And this is all I had. I'd done a couple images from April to December, but not very many. And so when she was diagnosed, during her recovery, she just said, just get out of here. You know, like she was just tired of me around. So I would go do my little road trips. And so I started doing these photographs, and I would travel a lot for work, and I would take the tutu wherever I went and start.
So they would just it was like it was just a total side project this time. Something to do.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Something to do on a travel day or.
Yeah,
or
but
whatever.
it was for, you know, it was just kind of like get out of my head, because I knew I was in public. I knew that I had to focus. I knew, you know, the police would probably come. Knew that, you know, so it was just one of those things.
They came, right?
Huh?
The police came.
Yeah, at some point, yeah. So these images, the last two images were on a road trip that I did after my dad passed away, and it was a 10-day road trip down the East Coast. But so just to back up a little bit, from 2004 to 2007, Linda had gone through her treatments and was doing good and was clean for about a year and a half. And then at year 3, she was re-diagnosed, and her cancer had metastasized to her liver. So at that point, she started taking the images to the cancer center and showing them to her friends that were receiving chemotherapy.
And the reaction was the same from the crowd. They were laughing.
Yeah, they were laughing, but they also saw introspection. And they felt like they were looking at themselves in like desolate areas and all alone. So at that point, Linda would continue to tell me stories about the women that she would meet, about how they would have to bring their kids to their treatments, you know, their 6-year-old child to their treatment.
And they'd have to wait with the
And they have to wait. And it's like, okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to publish a book, and we're going to donate the net proceeds to help men and women, or women at the beginning, with breast cancer. And so
with the like ancillary costs, so like babysitting, so
like,
they could go.
Yeah, administration for
a cab ride.
Yeah,
or massage therapy is what you told me about as well.
Yeah, correct. So I continue to do these images and just investigate different ways to get the book done.
Right.
And over the next 4 years, from 2006 to 2011, I was turned down by every publisher in the
Why?
in the country. Well, they just didn't. In 2008, I had a publisher that was all on board, but that was during the recession, and they had to pass on it because they were laying people off.
Right.
And so, and then I got a literary agent. He couldn't figure out an angle for it. I didn't really know. I knew kind of the angle, but wasn't really sure at the time.
Let's cycle through some of the images while we're talking, Bob.
So during this time, I was speaking at a class at ICP, International Center for Photography, and one of the students came up to me afterwards and said, when you're ready for this project to go, wherever it's going to go, let me know. I'm a producer at the Today Show. And my wife had breast cancer, so I'll make sure that this is the best piece that I ever do.
Oh, that's great.
So, during that time, we couldn't get a publisher. So we just decided, okay, we're going to do it on our own. We're going to have people sponsor us. So I offered prints for, a limited edition print. I opened a new edition of a print and offered a book for $500. So it was an edition of 10, 20 by 24, very reasonable price, and a book. So we put it out to the mission statement out to the world. Somebody sent the project to the New York Daily News. They published it. That same day, Yahoo put it on their homepage, and it exploded in one day.
So was this like a Kickstarter kind of thing? Or?
Well, it was
pre-Kickstarter.
No, Kickstarter was happening, but this was for like charity, so they don't do charity.
Oh,
so
I see.
I just made up this thing on my own.
And put up a web page. And
Just
I
had
see.
one landing page, and that's what they got.
And so how much traction did you gain after all of that?
Well, I walked in the office an hour after 2 hours after I had the interview and sent the images to Yahoo, and I looked at Linda. I told Linda, I said, look at the Facebook page. Something's happening. I can feel something happening. And she looked in a little circle. It said 17K.
That's how many people just followed you?
Yeah, in like an hour.
Yeah. Wow.
And I got an email from the vice president of the NFL, and like 2 days later, I'm having lunch with him on his balcony on Park Avenue, and he's offering me to shoot at stadiums.
Tell that. I don't know if that image is in here.
I think it is.
It is. Let's cycle through, because when we get to that image,
Okay.
I want you to tell that story a little bit.
Well, this one, we were in St. Louis. Some man walked by, and this is after the project happened, and he's like, I'm calling the park police now. This is inappropriate for children to see. And I'm like,
It really is inappropriate for children to see, but
I have pink shorts on and underwear, so it's all legal pretty much. And I say, okay, call him up. Or he said that to me, and I just said whatever. And then he got really mad. And then we waited for about 20 minutes. The police never came.
Police never came.
So one day we were at Central Park, and we would put it out to Facebook. If anybody wants to come to the shoot, personal messages, we'll let you know where it is. Like during the time we're there, So this gentleman came, and he turned out to be a really amazing friend. And he just said at the end of the shoot, he goes, "What would you think of the possibility of shooting with American Ballet Theater with the Swans And I'm like, yeah, that would be great, So it took about 2 weeks to get approvals with all the unions and everything. But here I am. I went early, about 6 hours early, to do pre-lighting with the crew, because they had a recipe that we put together for this so we could get it almost in one shot. And we did it. We did 5 positions in 5 minutes. I had 2 cameras set up with my assistant in the back, and he had cable releases. I had Bluetooth, and he was just saying, okay, move a little left, and then he would pop off 5 frames, and we'd go to the next one. And we did this in 5 minutes. We did 5 different positions. This is in New Jersey. So this was the first digital image I ever did, because the first ones were film. And I figured that, if I want to do these on my own, because I had people with them during the film ones, because it was hard to shoot that way.
You can't load the film remotely.
Yeah, we can't shoot it. I was shooting 2 1/4. And so Linda, this is on our road trip. So we got there to the Borgata, and this was a little bit of trespassing. We got there, and we were shooting, and cars were driving by on the other side. And so we got done. I'm using my remote. It worked, and it was awesome. And was getting back in the car, or we packing up, and then 5 police cars pulled up, and he's like, "Is there a tutu in that van?" And I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, there is." And he goes, and as he's talking, I could hear the dispatcher say, "We have another sighting of ballerina on Borgata Way," and then he's like, "Can we shoot with my new car, or with this new police car?" And so we did.
So they're the police that showed up. Yeah.
Yeah. This one was I was doing And since this whole thing has happened, I've done a few like TED Talks, and this was in Munich last year, and this was just amazing because couple of the guys there were at the TED Talk, and I went up and said, "Can I borrow your surfboard?" And they actually, the slippery railroad tie, they had to hold me up because it was super, like, if I were to fall, it was horrible.
Oh,
so this is at the Brandenburg Gate. This is at the Cologne Cathedral. And we had done a big project there, so it really went kind of big in Germany. This is with the Boston Ballet, and they've supported us every year too, as well as the American Ballet Theater. So now we have a nonprofit. It's called the Tutu Project and Carey Foundation, and one of our biggest sponsors is Bloomingdale's. So every October they have the Pink campaign, and so we're one of 2 grassroots organizations they donate to. And what we do is our foundation donates monies to other small foundations that help people all over the country after they're diagnosed with, anywhere from insurance administration to child care to lymphedema sleeves, things they need that
insurance doesn't cover.
Correct. This was in Munich at 1 o'clock in the morning. Chicago. This was like a lot of the places I go, is like no trespassing. And those rocks were so slippery. It's like really scary.
Having a camera and a pink tutu kind of gives you a license to trespass a little bit, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, in Chicago last year, I was shooting in Millennium Park. Millennium Park.
Everybody there was born in their 20s, right?
And so they, I was shooting. I was about 8 feet from my camera, and there was a bunch of people around, and this guy was hiding out in the bushes in his hoodie and pops out and grabs my tripod with about $6,000 worth of stuff on it. And I tried to chase him, and
is there a video of you chasing in a tutu?
But I just said, "I have your phone number." Like, I was in shock, because it was like my favorite body and lens.
Right, but like what kind of a-hole does that? Yeah.
Well,
whatever.
Yeah. It was interesting, though.
Yeah, I guess he didn't know Bob's backstory.
Yeah, well, he probably would have done it anyway. This is, I'm friends with Mickey Raphael, who's the harmonica player for Willie Nelson, and he's been collecting my work for about 20 years, and we were trying to get a shot, like, during a show, but Willie wouldn't do it, so we were able to do a shot with his
Willie's
guitar trigger.
Yeah.
And they were just like, "Do not drop the guitar."
Because they said when that guitar breaks, Willie's done, right?
They keep rebuilding it because it keeps deteriorating.
Because he has no pick guard on it, and it's just this big hole in it.
It's a big hole, yeah. But there's like all this reinforcement under it. This one was done in the middle of the night, or it was started at 4 in the morning. And I had already talked to the police the day before because I went there. There was about 1,100 people there the day before, and I'm like, I really just want to be there with Lincoln alone. And so I talked to the police, and they said, "Just come here tomorrow at 3, in the morning at 3 a.m. We'll be here from 3 to 4." And I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be a little too dark, so actually I woke up late. Linda called me at 4 in the morning, and I was supposed to be here at 3. She wanted me. She goes, "Did you get the shot?" And it was like, I slept in, and I got there. We did get the shot, and it was kind of magical that day. This is something that I shouldn't have done. Because, before I left, I went on by myself, and Linda goes, "Don't do anything stupid." And when I got there, it was like, okay, this is the shot. So I kind of have to do this. And it was 5:30 in the morning. There was nobody there. And
I see you
I
looking
did
at it.
it.
It still scares you, like just looking
Yeah,
at it.
I don't even like to look at it, but it's really a good one, and it's like I did it one time, and I got down and I looked at the looked at it, and I go, I need to change this, and I did it 2 more times, and it was slippery because it's like mist all the time.
Yeesh.
But I still like it. I don't really post it, but and this one was my old assistant and friend, who this was his idea. He was staying, and it was like amazing. His name's Chris McPherson. He's a advertising photographer, and this is the only time that he ran out there with my camera, and we were on speakerphone, and and this is behind glass, but he was directing me, and he's the one that shot this.
And that's
one.
at the Standard here in
Yeah.
the meat packing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was funny to hear the people on the ground talking. But this was at my house. I live in New Jersey now, and this was at my house last year during when it snowed 26 inches. I did have shoes on for this one. I don't usually wear shoes, but I knew it was a foot deep or whatever, 2 feet deep. This is in Kalamata, Greece. And Bloomingdale's will pretty much let me do whatever I want. It's like, do you have a ladder? It's like really dangerous to do that.
It seems like danger is your middle name with these things, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just kind of, when I get focused on it, I just kind of have to do it. This one was kind of funny because it was around where I live, and the police came, and they were just really pissed, and they're like, put your pants on quick. And it's like, and then I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. And then they said, just have your dispatcher look up our project online, and then by the end of it, by within a minute, they saw the sticker I had a sticker on my car, and they're just like, how's your wife doing? So they told him what this was all about.
Right.
This was at a private runway in Arizona. My nephew works for Kirby Chambliss, who's a aerobatic pilot for Red Bull. He does the races. And my nephew flew me out there in his airplane, and we did this shot. We couldn't use the Red Bull airplane, but I'm going to try to do that
That's
this
a really
year.
great. I really love that. It's a great shot.
Thanks.
There
This
you
is
are
New
standing
Jersey.
on another railing.
Yeah, it's really dumb.
There's like, what, 2 feet of water underneath that?
I
or
don't
something?
know. I have no idea.
So tell the story a little bit about this one. What happened?
Well,
Isn't this the one where they didn't know you were coming on the field? And they
oh, no. That was the Cardinals game. And I was going out on the field during the game with 75,000 people in the stands, and Arizona, and so lots of security. And as I was running out, the security, so the Cardinals knew I was out there, but the other half of the owner of the stadium is another entity. So Cardinals didn't tell the other entity that I was going out there. And so when I got done, the sheriff, one of the sheriff deputies, said, "You're so lucky, man. I almost tased you," because he was running after me. I'm like, but I would have taken that for that.
That would have been great. That would have been great.
Yeah, I mean, how bad can it be?
Yeah, no.
This is in Colorado. This one I thought would be the hardest one, but Times Square, you can pretty much do anything you
Really,
want.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's it.
That was great.
And so now we're, continuing to help people, and I'm. A lot of people think that this is all I do, but it's not. I do my own
Right.
work.
Yeah. You
And
do all kinds of pictures.
I do
but
all.
what I like when people come in is I like when they come and talk about a particular project as opposed to like a career
Right.
overview. I think it's much
Right.
more poignant. If that's the
Yeah, and
right
I
word.
think for this one, in my other project, it just started with something that I knew I had to do for me, and snowballed into something else, and it really, you know, I think it supported what Linda was going through too, because she's now the president of our foundation, and she works every day, but she also has treatments every day. Well, it's been ongoing for 10 years. So every 3 weeks she gets a 1-hour drip, and she is doing oral chemo every 1 week on and 1 week off. This
Right.
for 10 years. So it's,
And it's going to be like this.
she's
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah. Well.
So
So you're doing a good thing. You turned a negative into a positive. And thanks, Bob Carey,
Thank
for
you.
coming and sharing
Thanks a
with
lot.
with us. And I guess we're going to reset. And Bob's he's asking, you want this mic? Is that what you want? Okay. All right.
All right, guys, we're gonna do a quick setup for the rock and roll show. So I invite you all to go out and have some more beer. There's a couple more cases in the fridge. And make sure if you didn't sign in to the sign-in sheet, or you got here after we started, sign in, because we're gonna give away those 2 camera bags
thanks for steering me.
in a little bit. Thanks, guys.